Alright guys, welcome back going into the third hour here of RollPlay Swan Song. Adam, tell me about the boat from Anaconda.
Tell you about the boat from Anaconda. So John Voight is on the boat.
Fantastic.
No, John Voight is your river captain. So so we fade in on the vast expanse of sort of rust-colored jungle. There's something about the plant life here that that makes the vines grow these kind of like metallic-looking leaves, and so all the plants are kind of like rusty-looking. And we're moving up a like muddy river towards a temple, kind of in the distance. And if you want to Google some images for this, like Google Angkor Wat or like really any like Thai or Cambodian like temple, and it's in similar disarray, like they're kind of crumbling. And we see, as the boat comes around a bend, this sort of lazy bend in the river, there's like a huge spire of ornate stone that at some point was probably stories tall, but has long since like crumbled into the river. And the boat maneuvers around that, and you're all standing in the back, and it's hot as fuck. Like it's just like intense wet jungle heat. Who's piloting the boat? Because you said you didn't want to hire anybody. Higgs, are you up front? Are you
I guess I am, and I'm
telling
about a story where I was on a river once. Maybe I'm telling the story about how I was on the river once and lost my virginity or some shit. Some random fucking shit like that.
That's his default story. I was doing this once and I lost my virginity.
Yeah.
Well, look, on ASA you get 10 to 12 virginities to give away. It's
Great.
just a thing. It's a thing you get.
Yep.
Saving some of them though for marriage. That was the solution. So you're telling a story, and you're like moving up the river, and
I do have vehicle grab actually, so that would make sense. I totally forgot.
Yeah,
about that.
Like a hover river boat.
Yeah.
You can patrol it on the hover river.
I knew I got that in episode 1 for some reason.
Yeah, you've piloted a grav vehicle at least one other time.
I think it was on the planet where you didn't give us that fucking tank. I think. Yeah, don't he?
Maybe that's been every planet.
That's every episode.
That's true. Yeah. That's every episode.
Every episode you don't have a grav tank. So yeah, in the distance you see what looks like a combination of like the way that TV shows and movies portray Area 51 and then like an ancient temple, right? Like there's all these like military looking plastic tents kind of like laid out around it. You can see the temple itself, but then the entrance, like where the door would be, has this sort of extruded like plastic tube leading into it. There's probably an airlock or something in there. And then you can see even from here, as you start to come around the corner, like men and women with guns. There's about a half dozen of them, kind of like walking back and forth, sort of patrolling the area. They're wearing like hot weather patrol gear, but it's not like camouflage. They're not like a special ops team. They're meant to stand out and be like easily seen.
Who owns this location? Like, do we know?
Kamna, it depends on who you ask. The Hovaden Caliphate owns the whole planet. Because it's part of Hovaden space, and they've absorbed it into the Caliphate. The locals have been petitioning with various kind of human rights groups in the sector to be like, hey, they can't just come and take our planet. We've been here for thousands of years. Varying people give a shit or don't give a shit about it because they don't have any money. Up until recently, no one really cared about the planet at all. And I think that the new prophet probably has stood in philosophical stance with the like, indigenous people of Kamna, but only because they're in opposition to the Caliphate. It's been like, no, we support their cause, but we don't have like anything to give them. So it's sort of legally gray, but there's no governing, there's no UN, so who cares, right? The Caliphate owns the planet.
So I feel like we don't want to really get seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have time to, if you want, like guide the boat behind some vines and wreckage and get up there on foot, like swim up or like go
I'd probably like kill the engines or something when I see them and coast over to
I come up to Higgins and I say, Mr. Higgins, you see those guards, right?
I like slowly turn to him as I'm turning the engine off. Yes, Eric, yes I do.
They're there to draw our eyes away from the other defenses. We'll have to keep a lookout.
Okay, I mean, if we get in a fight, we got the 4 pi bots, so just saying.
Yes, of course. That will help.
Okay.
But what I mean is the guards aren't actually what's defending the site. It's other things. Cameras in the trees or auto turrets. The guards are just there to distract us.
I kind of just like stare off as if I'm looking for them, but I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Alfarius, while Higgs is pretending to look, do you want to actually look?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Higgs, you can help if you want. You can help
Yeah,
Alfarius.
I give him an assist.
So be like, look at that weird bird over there, and he's like, "That's not a bird. That's an automated camera." Higgs.
We got an 11.
All right, so Higgs, you roll first, and if you
Oh.
can get a 7 or better,
I mean, he already rolled a 10.
Oh well,
That
then
was before. That was before.
yeah, that guy. All right, yes. So you're fine.
No. That was I didn't roll that. That was my
Oh,
roll.
that's an earlier roll.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead and
I'm
roll.
waiting for him to do his help roll.
Where the fuck is my character? Okay.
You did only roll a 10 long ago.
Perception, right? What's that
Yeah.
based off of?
Int.
Okay.
It's not wisdom?
5. I don't help.
Okay, no help.
Great.
Nice. That's what I'm gonna do, guys, right there.
God damn
Fucking
it.
solid 6 on this
All
one.
right, this place is just like thick with jungle. If there is like hidden cameras or traps or whatever, you can't spot them from here. You'd need like thermographic vision or like some other way of getting at them. There are just too many places to hide stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go.
Okay, so how do you approach the site? There is a
Right.
dock. There's like a metal and plastic dock that sticks out where normally boats like this would dock and just get out and deal with that stuff. There's massive jungle on either side of the river. Like the jungle comes right up to the banks of the river. In many cases, the trees hanging over it with their vines down in the water. And it's just a straight shot up the river to the docks from there. So you'd have to like go through the jungle if you want to come around the sides or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think we still want to do that. Or I suggest it's the strongest option to go through the jungle.
Sounds like I should strategize,
I was gonna
perhaps.
say, Alfarius, you're the tactical mind. Do you want to make a tactics roll and see if you can see
I
some
do.
weakness? Yeah. Okay.
My tactics here is a 2.
do that 6 again.
Anybody want to help? Anyone want to put their mind?
I have tactics. Like, I actually have tactics. What's that? Int as well?
Yeah.
There's a 9.
So I get +3 then. Don't fail me, dice, you son of a bitch. There we go.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
Tap
So,
it out.
like Eric said, it looks like the guards are just there as a sort of show of force. This place is actually less well defended than it looks.
Mm.
The biggest defense is that people don't know that it's here, right? Like the locals do, but the Hovaden, like there's no reason for this to be a security issue to begin with. So yeah, if you're willing to like hike through the jungle for an hour, like out and around, you can probably make it up the side wall without any of the guards noticing you.
Who's deciding this?
I mean, I assume Alfarius is the one planning the test.
Yeah, if that's the best plan we get out of the 12, it's for strategy, sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you're, you can carry that 12 into a +1 forward on the whoever rolls stealth to like organize the team moving forward.
Okay. Who wants to roll that then? For stealth? I guess I could roll that.
Yeah.
Stealth.
I feel like it's either Alfarius leading the group or
Let me see what I got. If
I
have
have
a 0,
stealth 1.
or Higgs. Yep.
You should take it then, bro.
Okay. Dex for that, Adam?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let it
8.
apply to the group. Okay. All right. So
Oh,
I think that as you disembark from the boat, you tie it to a log, and start to make your way through the jungle. And it's slow going, right? You have to climb over shit and like cut vines to get through. But you're trying to do so quietly. And so by the time we see you again, by the time you emerge out of the other side of the jungle into the clear-cut area around the temple, we see you in that kind of golden hour, right? Like the group is cast in these like intense orange shadows as the sun is sort of setting over the river and casting these sort of heat line hazes on you. And so your like shadows fall hard on the wall. The guards seem to be patrolling just the dock area, and you can see from where you are the long airlock tube that leads into the base of the temple itself. And I think that when you emerge from the jungle, we can see on your left the long sort of sandstone wall, and on it there are all these carvings that look like human figures, either kneeling or bowing in supplication, and they appear to be like worshiping or paying homage to some kind of like crocodile-headed figures. There's a lot of imagery of like orbs kind of like above them, and then these sort of imperious looking like Sebek kind of like crocodile-headed reptilians.
I kind of point and say, look, yeah.
Yeah, there's like, it's kind of all freaky and stuff. I don't know if that relates as much to me.
Oh, you can make a religion check if you want.
I will.
Okay.
Maybe he will, Adam.
I shall.
Maybe he will.
Bloom.
Snap.
Okay.
I know lots about religion.
Okay. So this planet in particular, the people on it, the indigenous population, follow a kind of like unusual form of what's usually classified as Buddhism. But there are elements of animism in the religion, and as a student of religion, you know that there's been several debates about what exactly these figures represent. Some people think that it's a holdover from wherever these people came from in the ancient past. Some people say that it's an adaptation to the local fauna, right? Because there are like alligator analogs, sort of amphibious reptile creatures that live in a lot of the water bodies here, and so maybe there's like an animism sort of thing going on there. But I think that when you look at the wall, there's something eerily familiar about these figures. And you see them for the first time, maybe not so much as like alligators or crocodiles, but there's something bird-like about them to you. Maybe in their hands and the way that they're like reaching out to the people that are like bowing to them. Yeah, you have an eerie sense of that.
But, okay, yeah.
Did you have a question? Because I mean, I can.
I mean, like, no one would I even know what the creature is?
Nah, there's debate, right? Like, there's a name for it.
Okay.
There's a name for it in their language, which is like probably like a strange kind of altered version of Thai. But it generally translates as like ascended ones or the ones above or whatever.
Maybe I just pull out my journal and actually make a quick sketch.
Mm-hmm. A rubbing.
Now's not the time to rub one out, Steven.
just mush your iPad up against the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can take a couple of photos and like make some notes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you can sneak up to the there's this like the long plastic tube kind of like protecting the entrance, and then there are some guards kind of at the entrance of that the end of that tube. But the temple itself is like immediately on your right or on your left.
We just like go to the base of the temple where the tube like enters it, and then like use a multi-tool to cut a hole and enter that way.
Absolutely, yep. If that's what you want, sure.
I mentioned to Higgs, I say I can cut a hole in the tube with my multi-tool, then we won't need to get any closer to those guards.
I just like very sternly, like just a hard looking face or look on my face, just give like the best thumbs up ever. Yeah.
Start carving my way through the plascrete of the tube.
Yeah. It's like thick plastic. Like it wouldn't just be like tent sheeting or whatever, because it's at the mouth of the thing. It's meant to create a seal. But yeah, you cut a hole, like a slit in the temple wall or in the wall attached to the temple, and slip in from there. Okay.
Kia, this way.
I follow.
Okay. So as a group, you come into what appears to be kind of like maybe originally it was an antechamber or something. It's like a large kind of open room, sand floor, stone walls, stone ceiling, but there are tripod lights set up. There's a generator sitting in the corner. Everything is really kind of shadowy because all the generators have been powered down. And you can see in the darkness, there's a tunnel that leads down further into the sort of temple complex. But this room, like, it's basically dark within a few feet of the door that you've created.
We've got to have lights,
Do you?
like on our suits or something.
Well, you're not wearing like vac suits or anything.
True. You said there was a generator,
There is a generator. Yep,
but it's off.
it's off. Yeah.
You're not gonna let me project light, I guess.
I mean, you can create like candlelight equivalent with your beard and hair. So your room will be totally dark. But also keep in mind, these aren't like gas powered generators. These are TL4 generators. They're like a little fusion reactor. You can just flip on and it'll hum away quietly.
Okay. All right. So hang on. I would like to do a check of the room to see if there are any cables running from the generator outside.
Okay.
To make sure we don't trip off the
Sure.
guards.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
there are, I want to either unplug them or cut them.
No, there are not. The generator only runs to the power cabling that operates the lighting in this room. As well, this generator seems it looks like they've done some infrastructure work, so there might be like air pumps or something downstairs. But if you turn this generator on, it shouldn't do anything too alarming outside.
Okay. So, confirm that, and then I thumb on the generator. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, the generator hums gently to life. Maybe it makes a little like a jingle. You put your thumb on the button. It's one of those little static buttons. And next to your thumb, we see that like close up of your hand turning it on. There's a little like R and the beaker logo of like Richardson Scientific, like bringing science to life. And you like press the button, and all the lights come on in the room. And now you can see that the walls in here appear to damaged and kind of like water, like they have like vines growing through them in places. Damaged though they might be, there appears to be some kind of like narrative in the, like a story to the wall, and it appears to be telling, and Kia, I think you're the one that notices this. It appears to be telling the story of like a king or a prince or like some powerful leader arriving in a sacred place and meeting with these like lizard-headed, these bird figures that you've seen. And then like the life and death of that figure. And then they're like leading that story kind of down into the earth.
Have you seen any of the Mummy movies? Where they walk in and there's a story to be told amongst the hieroglyphics that that's
Totally.
what happens. Like it's like these, this imagery and kind of, I say that out loud to everyone kind of.
Nice.
I'm just ignoring you.
Well, so I mean, Higgs, you've heard stories of people like finding like riches in places like this, right? So like, it may be boring archaeology from here, but maybe down there somewhere there's some treasure you could sell to a collector for a fair amount of money.
I don't think Higgs is thinking about treasure at all at this point. Like,
Nice. Yeah, that's my question, right? Like that would be the thing we would assume you'd think, but
yeah, he's just kind of like, all right, Eric, where are we going now? We got to keep moving.
We need to find the way down. Sub-basement 2. We need to turn on the monitoring equipment.
Yeah, Alperia says almost nothing. I'm spoken to.
Yeah. So I guess I started looking around for the elevator.
okay. Yeah, there's a thick bundle of cabling that runs down into the tunnel. And if you follow that, you come to, there's a couple of collapsed like intersections that look like they're being dug out, but there's a like a makeshift elevator basically. There maybe used to have been a staircase here that collapsed or something, but there's a platform with some basic grav tech that you can run. Once you get on, it'll just float you down to the bottom.
Great.
Cool. Okay. All right. So you descend into the darkness. You start to go down below the jungle, and like the walls down here are like that kind of like sweaty that like stone gets when it's hot, and like there's like rivulets running down the walls. You're all having like not difficulty breathing, but the air is so redolent with moisture that when you breathe, you're getting as much like water in your lungs as you are air. So it's like it takes time to kind of like process that. It's very uncomfortable. you start to feel like sweaty almost immediately. All of the like air funneling technology here is running on emergency mode because everybody's left. Basically, no one's supposed to be down this low. But you get to the second level, and there seems to be like excavation operating in this area. So there's, you can see areas that are cordoned off. There's some basic running lights that lead to stations where people would stop and do equipment. No one's gonna like stay down here, but you figure you're probably in about the right place.
Cool. Are there, like, looking around on the walls, is there any sign of crystal outgrowth like the kinds that we normally find? Like, this is the crystal planet, basically.
Yes. So
is that here?
No, not at this level, though you can see places on the wall, like strange geological like markings where like the carvings on the wall seem to have had like discoloration or places where they faded out that would be about in what you would expect from like the base of a crystal growing from there. It looks like this place has been harvested of any crystal growth.
Yeah. Okay.
At this level, certainly.
Yeah. So this is, you said this was sub-level 2, right?
Yes. Yeah. You're on your way to Dr. Rashid's lab, right?
That's where we're trying to head. So I guess we'd get off at this level, and then it would just be about exploring the sections that are not cordoned off for excavation.
Yeah.
They'd keep their scientific equipment somewhere fairly stable.
Yeah. So yeah, this area seems to be mostly about it's an operating station. There are computers. They've all been shut down and covered with environment corrective like sheeting, I guess, probably like plastic sheets that's the vacuum seal around the computers to protect them while everybody is away. And based on the directions that Ephraim gave you, you find your way to a room that was probably a burial chamber or something at one point, but now is just empty. There have been boards set out on the floor, not wooden boards, like planks, basically. They set up like a little office in here. There's a sort of clean room, like, what those ones you put your arms in, and there's like the gloves.
Yeah.
For like manipulating artifacts and stuff. There's some stuff in there. And then there's a desk and a set of computer equipment. It's all powered down right now.
Very cool. I guess, like, it's all powered down, so it's not necessarily connected to the main generator, or there's just some sort of...
It is, but it's all turned off.
Okay, right, got it. Yeah. I guess I'd be looking for the main fuse box to try and like turn everything on so that we can gain access to some of the monitoring equipment and activate it.
Yeah, if it's ever dark, I would just be like, Alpharius, can you go ahead and find the light switch for us, please? And then I just send him off to go do that since he actually has light.
Yep, and I'd go do that.
Okay. Yeah, Alpharius, you find a place that that has a like another generator for this sub level. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so the basic lighting comes on, the computers all start to turn on under their like plastic sheeting. And and Eric, you find the doctor's equipment. You boot it up.
Yep, cool. I guess I like swipe the access card and gain access.
Yeah, it's like welcome back, Dr. Rashid. The whole thing starts to power up, and you have access to all of his research notes and like all the kind of stuff that's been going on here. So, do you want to?
I was not unaware of that. So quickly, I guess Eric looks over his shoulder and then he sort of looks back at the computer. He says, "Damn, password. I think I can get it. It's something about, he used to always use the same password. Let me try a few things." And then I start digging through his files because he said he was doing military grade research.
Correct.
I'm especially explicitly looking for research on the psi crystals.
Okay. All right.
He sort of deftly dodged my comments about the use that I found for them.
Make a computers test for me.
I am great at those.
Okay. Computer test with intelligence, please.
Beep, boop.
Beep, beep, beep.
Not too bad.
What'd you get?
7.
7? Okay, sure. So you're digging around in the files, and you bring one up. You don't realize it when you opened it, I think, but it's a video file, and so everyone in the room hears like the sound crackle on, and this hologram appears, and you hear Eric. You understand what it's saying, but a voice is saying in Arabic, Mubarizun, surveillance satellite, Andoni, and then a date. Everyone in the system I guess everyone in the sector would know the date, but it's the date Andoni was destroyed. But Alferis, you hear the word Andoni. You don't recognize any of the other words. And we see the planet, Andoni, and it looks in the usual pristine shape, pre-Warmind. Then there's a blip of light, and we see a battleship like appear from drive space. And
I'm seeing this
planet. Yeah, you can see this happening. This just appears in the middle of the
like
room.
a holograph or something like that.
Yep.
I'm like walking towards it, kind of glassy-eyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the ship, this like Pfotenhauer battleship, like flies into place, and then just starts to bombard the planet. Just like, yeah, I mean, horrible things. You've never seen it this directly, but
Pretty much the second it starts bombarding it, he just drops to his fucking knees.
Yeah. And so we see the planet get destroyed essentially from space. And then it flickers, and then there's a woman, the hologram of a woman. She's probably in her 60s. She's wearing a lab coat, and in Arabic. So Eric, you're the only one that can understand this. She says, she seems to be finishing a conversation. Like this is the end result of some other thing. And she says, and now you understand why we need this place, why Kamna is so important to my plans. Because without it, this kind of thing could happen to all of Hoveda, to any planet in the sector. What happened to Andoni is only the beginning. It is not the end. Look to Andoni as a warning message. This is not done. It is only beginning. And it like crackles out.
As I realize what she's saying is important, Eric just starts like speaking over her words in space English and just
because she's saying it in
she says it in Arabic, but Eric translates into English for you.
Yeah.
As you finish it, he kind of like Alferis doesn't look back, just says, "Who was that?"
I'm not certain. I'm not familiar with the woman, but what could they be doing here? I go digging back through the files and try to see like, okay, wait a minute, what kind of research is going on here that could potentially stop the kind of destruction that happened to Andoni? I guess Eric like has heard of what happened on Andoni. There's some sort of rogue AI that took over a Pfotenhauer battleship, and
I think most people in the system either think Pfotenhauer did it, right? Like personally, because it was one of their battleships, right?
Yeah.
There's some fringe people like, ooh, an AI did it. And usually they either blame Cabral, or Cabral is like, no, AI are great, and AI tried to save everybody. That's
right. Yeah. Okay.
Do that.
So I'm like, why? What about Kamna could protect a planet from Pfotenhauer?
Yeah. So you're like digging through the files. You find a single file as you're digging through called Warmind, and it's a recording.
Ah, perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. How to turn the mind into a weapon of war. Double click.
Okay. So it comes up, and again in Arabic, and I assume Eric, you're gonna like live translate as best.
Like I'll listen to it for a moment, and then if it seems important at all, I just automatically start translating. Yeah.
All right. So a voice off screen says, Mubarizun official recording 26, 25, 15, 16. Like they have their own like year calendar. They don't go by the sector calendar. The year 15,000 or whatever. And he's like, interview 46A, subject discussing Warmind theory. And the woman, it's her again. And she says, based on all the information the Mubarizun have been able to provide for me, I can only assume that what happened to the Pfotenhauer ship Harridan's Heart was a complete takeover by some kind of hostile artificial intelligence. And I believe that it's related in some way to what's going on Kamna. there's imagery. And this is why we brought in the religious scholars. No one would listen to me when I thought to hire them. They were only interested in the military applications of the crystal. But we need to understand the fundamental religious capabilities behind these. And then there's like a pause as someone off screen is like, change the way, like someone's looking at her funny. And she sighs and she's like, I won't digress again. Listen, if we're going to do this, we need to do this quickly. We need to harvest those crystals. I think that they might be our only hope against this thing. And the voice off screen says, when you say this thing, ma'am, what do you mean? And she says, the war mind, this artificial intelligence.
Is it fair to assume then, I obviously don't understand anything, but there is no Arabic for war mind. It
Yeah,
goes,
she's saying it in
and
English.
war mind, right?
Yeah.
As it says that, you can see like a physical convulsion come over Alfarius, and he just turns like part of his head and says, what is it saying?
Yeah, I'm live translating as soon as I realize that it's bad. So yeah, she says that there's a complete takeover of the Harridan's heart, and that something similar may be happening on Kamna, and that we need to harvest the crystals because they're our only hope against the Warmind.
Yeah, and then she says, but we need more time to test them. They're very dangerous. Just look at the intelligence we had coming from Vinaya. The agents there said only a small amount of these crystals caused a massive explosion. And then the person interviewing her thanks her for her time. And you get the sense that he's being a little dismissive. And then the file ends.
Yeah.
I
kind of shrug and I say, the Mabarizun were never good at seeing outside of their own limited worldview.
And I think that as you're saying this, Eric, you notice there's a file on the list.
Yeah.
It says surveillance. It has like a date last month, and the word Sigrid written in it.
Double click.
Good. So you open it, and again, it's a video feed from another like Hovaden spy satellite. Basically, you see the familiar, curve of your home planet,
My icy homeworld.
Yeah, and a cluster of dark, kind of arrowhead-shaped ships appear over the surface of the planet, and these drop pods start to fall from them as pine cones from a tree and plummet, burning towards the surface.
Oh shit!
Oh no!
And Kia, when you see this, you have a sudden flash feeling of having seen something like this before. There's something about the viscous kind of detaching that these pods are doing from the ships that feels suddenly very familiar to you.
I've read Piani's journal too.
Yeah,
right? So there's these connections being made between what I'm seeing and this feeling, and yeah, it certainly doesn't feel so good.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, Eric is looking at this and he's seeing the viscosity of these pods peeling off the ship. Is it safe to assume that he draws parallels to the nanite goo that we fought on board that Richardson station?
Yeah, definitely. There's a very, all of it kind of feels connected to you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I think Eric just kind of watches in shock, and then he kind of backs away from the computer and says, "My home, my mom, we have to finish. We need Piani. Let's keep going." Oh, and then he just goes and double clicks on monitoring equipment on .exe or whatever, and then
you flip the switch and it starts to record.
totally.
Okay. Cool.
As he flips the switch, he glances at the monitor to see what kind of readings, psychic readings are happening in the environment.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like they're predominantly monitoring, there's a bunch of kind of ambient psychic waveform stuff you can monitor for. You can build, it's a pretty basic thing. You can buy kits to build psychic monitoring equipment, but this is all pretty heavy stuff. The Mubarizun have obviously given them some additional equipment for monitoring, and it picks up ambient psychic energy on a pretty sensitive scale.
I would like to try and use my knowledge of SciTech to see
Okay.
if I can analyze the sensor arrays and or like the setup that they have and see if I can tune it more closely to metapsionics and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
the sorts of psychic wavelengths that I think are going to be
I imagine like we have one of those kind of like there's a circular disc on a table displaying a 3D waveform, kind of like in Akira, the kind of like bouncy like half sphere like moving around.
Yeah.
And as you tweak it, it like changes color and like gets layers and starts to move.
Yeah.
And what kind of information are you looking for? I guess what question do you want?
Well, I guess like I know the theory behind Gordon's hypothesis of metadimensional entanglement, and therefore what kind of psionic forces would be at work. If that were like a state currently happening, and B, like as we start messing with the threads of psionic entanglement, what kind of psionic pulses would be set off by that. So those are the ones I'm trying to like amplify the signal for, basically.
Okay. All right. Make a sci-tech roll.
Okay. Nailed it.
Shit. All right.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So the waveforms start to come together. You get a very clear picture of data, and I think what you're seeing is usually when you look for like ambient psychic energy, you just get like a seismograph, basically. Like, is it happening? Is it not happening? And at what levels is it going up and down?
Yeah. And usually it's like there's not a lot happening. There may be like little ambient jiggles, but
yeah. And I think what you noticed when you first came in was like there's a bunch of like equipment in here that maybe you were distracted, maybe you were like busy, you didn't really like think about it a second time. They have multiples of the same equipment for no reason. Like you'd never need one of or more than one of like Scully's B4 analyzers, but there's like a full range. There's like 6 of them. Yeah. And as you're adjusting the equipment, they all start to read, right? You get waveforms on all of them. And at first they're the same, but as you tweak the equipment, they start to read different. And this is impossible. Like this just, they have to be malfunctioning. They're all giving you different readings.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, like, I guess I checked the equipment so I can verify the equipment is all.
I assure you they're not actually malfunctioning.
Yep.
You're getting at least a half dozen separate ambient psychic energy readings that are very different, all the way from like almost flatline to like the kinds of readings you get during active psychic engagement and all the way through. So they're all reading a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. I look at the results and then I say, Piani, come look at this. Come over here. See? Look, it's proof. This is all lining up with Gordon's theory of metadimensional entanglement. I like pull up like the relevant section on his paper where he talks about like the kinds of things you would expect to see in a universe undergoing that kind of, entanglement. And like I pull it up and I guess it lines up maybe not 1-to-1, but like, it's like within an 80% accuracy of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's obvious.
I'm just showing Kia as I like scroll through it. I'm like, it's all good news. It supports our theory.
And it's obvious to you that this facility wasn't just about measuring the crystals, but there's some kind of like they're on to the same things you were.
I think actually the only thing I say is, Eric, I would appreciate it if you didn't call me Piani.
Oh, sorry, Kia. But it's good news.
Great.
He didn't mean any harm by that, Kia. Just force a habit, What
Things
what's
are already confusing enough as they are.
We should get on.
what's next? I don't even know where to go.
I think all of these sensors, they're measuring something deeper. That's where Dr. Rashid said I needed to go and see for myself.
Okay, I guess Alfarius, if you do the pleasure, let's start looking for a way to go deeper.
I'm leading the way, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He just like shudders up. He's still kind of twitching and stuff like that, but he leads.
Okay. All right. So you uncertainly lead the group to back to the next tier elevator. There's probably like a secondary elevator that leads down into the actual excavation site. So I think that you're moving your way through that space when Alfarius, you spot someone in the hallway ahead of you at the edge of the light. You see them at first, and then they like duck off down a hallway.
An unintelligible thing gets murmured to you guys, and then he kind of darts after them with his rifle raised through the cloak.
Are we just kind of like lost in darkness now?
Yeah, you're moving through these sort of dark, hot stone hallways, and then Alfarius, you want to run
Strange
after?
carvings on the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like run off like a lunatic. I run to the corner to see where they are, because the idea is if we're spotted, he needs to eliminate the spotty.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so you like run to the corner and like peer around it, and you see what you think looks like it's like a lone man. He's not wearing the you maybe expect to see the security armor of the troops upstairs, but he looks like he's wearing like a black, like almost like a business suit or like a funeral, like he's wearing it's like a suit and a tie, and you just see it for a second before he like dashes off down another hallway into the sort of labyrinth of tunnels down here.
Kind of looking, he like looks where the guy went, looks back at the group, and recognizes that pursuit is going to be near impossible, and just kind of goes, "We've been spotted."
Well, unless they can see in the dark that they're as fucked as we are, so I guess let's just keep going and keep our eyes peeled. The Pie-bots are still with us, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Can they? Do I know if they have like night vision?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They can see ultraviolet, night vision, all that stuff.
Okay. I just can we get 2, 1 and 2 you in front of us, 3 and 4 you behind us. Watch every angle. Stay with us.
They give you the salute and split up and go in front and behind.
Yeah. Let's just keep trucking along. If we see another one of those, we'll have some extra men chasing them, not just Alfarius.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're gonna carry on.
Yeah, he kind of reluctantly does. He like looks back down where the guy went and keeps going.
Okay. So this this structure, I guess, has like long kind of like ramps that lead down, and at each level it splits off into sub levels and various areas that have been excavated, some that haven't yet. And I think that as you make the long kind of like trek back and forth down these ramps, you start to notice whoever's directly behind the warbots, you start to notice sparkling in the lights that you're emitting, right? The Pie-bots have like underbarrel flashlights that they're leading at, so you get a big column of light ahead of you. But you start to see like a sparkling at first, like the sand becomes sort of like silica infused, so the ground is like sparkling a little bit, the walls are. And then the deeper you get, the more you notice that they're starting to sort of congeal in the corners. And much like when you found the apartment, you know, with these crystals all growing around it, you start to notice bits and pieces of like crystalline structure around the edges of the walls.
When I see
So
that,
it's clear that like, yeah, this area is a little bit more like infested with the crystalline stuff than it was above. You're starting to get down into the deeper layers.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of the ones at the front when I noticed that. And Eric, is that the same crystal that blew up the ship?
Yes, Mr. Higgins. This is where it comes from.
Fantastic. I just kind of like put my gun away, holster it, and then start walking.
I am trying to be very closed off within myself. It is not a safe space to reach out with psychic powers.
It's not good to shoot those things either, right? Get the same result.
Do I know if they are like physically reactive?
They're pretty physically inert. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of shake my head. I say, no, we should be fine. There's nothing about them that responds to heat or impacts. It's really, they operate on a psychic level.
Oh, I like put my gun back out. Eric, stop thinking.
I'm the most dangerous person here right now.
Stop thinking.
Yeah.
And if there's any loose crystals, I'm grabbing them and just taking a couple. Just put 'em in
Yeah,
the bag.
you start to find them at first like frost in like thin, flat kind of like layers on some of the walls down near the bottom and up in the corners. But they start to congeal and get bigger as you go, and so you can break off little bits and pieces if you need to.
Yeah, I just grab like a couple extra every once in a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Until he has a million.
Adam through the tongue. It's like just you're like waddling with your whole suit
Yeah,
full.
I turn into the penguin and I'm just waddling everywhere.
Gonna be rich.
We're rich, guys. We're rich.
Yeah.
The DM's gonna let me walk out with this shit. I can't believe it.
Totally.
Awesome. So you you continue down into the earth, and I think that you're mostly being like the area is being illuminated by these kind of motion sensitive light bulbs essentially that hang from the ceiling, and as you get close to them they light up, and as you walk past them they dim. So you're walking in a 3 or 4 meter sort of radius of light at any given time. And there's no, at least in the recent time, there hasn't been any sight of that suited figure again. They don't seem to be following you, or if they're ahead of you, they're ahead so far you can't see them.
Alfarius was the only one who saw that, right?
Yes, Alfarius is the only one that saw it. And I think that so Higgs, actually, you notice. Can you make a perception check for me, real quick?
Yep. Let me pull up character sheet.
Yeah, +9, I think it is.
I think so.
At
too.
least.
He's very perceptive.
Based off of int?
No,
wisdom?
wisdom.
Charisma.
Wisdom in this case.
That's charisma.
Charisma perception.
5. Have I
Okay.
re-rolled this session yet? No.
Not this hour.
No, not yet.
Let's
Better
go
use
ahead
it.
and re-roll that.
You're gonna roll 5 again.
4.
Oh my god, dude!
It's not my day.
Damn.
Roll a double one.
Nope.
So
that bad.
Higgs, you hear something, and at first maybe you think it's like water dripping, or so like someone said something, but when you look, nobody said anything in a few minutes. Everyone's quiet, and it sounds like at first, like just a discordant noise at the edge of the hearing. And when you try to listen more closely, it vanishes, but you hear it getting like a little louder as you go. And you start to notice like tones, like it sounds like music. It's being played on like an accordion maybe. And it just grates on you. Like hear this like irritating sound. You don't recognize it. You just hear like something. And then when you try to focus on it, it's like looking at something in your peripheral vision. When you try to look at it, like it doesn't quite work. You get a little bit of a headache when you try to focus on this sound. And it's just kind of dancing around in the back of your head.
Okay.
Do you
Yeah.
tell anybody that you hear that?
Well, I guess like once I actually start to realize that it's like tonal, in some sense, I turn to whoever's next to me, or maybe I just say it out loud. I'm like, "Y'all hearing this?"
Nobody can hear anything.
Yes,
Breathing.
Alfarius is breathing quite loud. Alfarius, are your lung mechanisms working?
No, not that's. There's some musical notes going on. You guys aren't hearing this?
As he says that, I hold up my hand at the front and I, just like scan with the rifle, seeing if I can see or hear anything.
No.
No.
Can I
No.
tell if it's coming from a certain direction, Adam?
Ahead of you, for sure.
I'm hearing some music or something from ahead of us. It's actually kind of fucking with me. So I guess let's just move forward as fast as possible, or else this is gonna start to hurt.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I like pick up the pace of the party a little bit.
Yeah, I march forward.
All right. So you continue on. So I feel like you get to I think this at this point you probably reach like another like area. You've passed beyond. Actually, Eric, this is the thing. Eric, you notice whoever's in front, the Piebots stop because there's like a cordoned off area. It's got a bunch of warnings in Arabic.
Yeah.
And it says like authorized personnel only. Insert keycard to continue. There's like a blocked like area. There's a security cordon here.
Yep. Okay. I think I just kind of like step forwards to the the iris of the door, and I turn back and I say, I think this might be it. And then I insert the key cards. Chink.
Okay. Yeah, you sink the card into the slot. The door iris is open, and you hear, this is Higgs, when the door slides open, the metal kind of like slides against itself. You can hear definitely now, like this is like, it's very clear. There's some kind of like accordion playing with like maybe a harp or harpsichord, like there's definitely like music playing, like the kind of music that like yeah, it's Baroque. You wouldn't recognize it as such, but like it reminds you of something irritating. Like there's something about this music that frustrates you in hearing it. And it's definitely coming from this room.
It was played at Randy's wedding. You recognize it now?
Maybe like once we scan the room or whatever afterwards. Just like, y'all aren't hearing this? Nothing?
There are no sounds, Captain.
Which way is it coming from now, Adam?
What's that?
What direction is it coming from now?
You hear it really loud. Like it gets loud as the door opens, and then it fades. It's like it echoes, and then it's gone.
Okay.
I think I probably like stop for a second, turn back, and I say, Mr. Higgins, when we get out of here, I'm going to go through a series of tests with you. I forget if I told you, it's been all such a blur. Whatever they found down here, it's causing people to develop late onset adult MES. It's possible one or more of our party will come away from here a little bit different.
Fucking psychic Higgins. Oh my god.
I look over and I'm like, nope. You run the test, but that's not happening. I'm just fucking with you guys. I'm not hearing anything. There's no music. I was just seeing if you guys were. Let's keep going on.
Eric, like you can kind of see from his face, Eric takes this actually really seriously because untreated MES is not a pleasant thing.
No, it sure isn't.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everybody. I'm not crazy. I just want to check if you were going crazy.
Yep. So Eric just turns around and walks through the door.
Okay. So this area of the room, or of the sort of temple complex, is basically like encrusted with crystals, some as much as 2 feet long, most shorter. The walls and ceiling are covered in them. It's like walking into a geode, basically. And you all see yourselves as the light from the Piebot's like underbarrel illuminates it. You see yourselves reflected back in a 1,000 facets of crystal, all covering the walls and the ceiling. I need everybody in the group to make a mental effect save, please.
Yes. Have you guys seen the Naica Crystal Cave in Mexico?
Nope.
Apparently it's like 150 degrees and humid as fuck, and there's just these massive, huge crystals everywhere. So that's what I'm envisioning that we are seeing.
Pass! Perfect.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, crit that shit.
Nailed it.
Damn.
Oh, that's
the only one who failed.
Oh, you gotta make another character.
Swan Song.
Why you gotta be like that, man?
All right, so Kia is the only failure? Okay.
Yeah.
So Kia, you didn't hear it before, but once you step into this room, it's as if someone has struck your inner ear with like a tuning fork. So there's this like one long, clear, like perfect note that just like resounds through your like entire body.
So this is Battlestar Galactica Silence, right? So we're done.
You just hear this single crystal clear note, and terrible accidental pun. And it's like suddenly all you can hear. And at first it's like kind of quiet, and then it gets louder. And maybe this is the point where we see like you frantically like looking at Eric and looking at Higgs, and they're talking and you can't hear them.
Yeah, it's that thing where like his mouth is moving. Yeah.
I mean, probably like if it's sat deafening, I probably like drop to my knees and cover my ears and maybe even start like, reciting verses and
Right. Yeah. The Lord is my shepherd.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously from the New Prophet, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you hear the sound, And yeah, you fall to your knees and grab. You guys see Kia grab her ears and fall down, and somewhere in the dark, far away, Piani, you hear a noise.
What?
You hear
Is
like
it Piani or is it Kia, bruh?
Piani, you hear a sound.
Oh shit!
Some distant, as if listening to it through a mile of water. You hear like a faint sound that like wakes you up from whatever strange slumber you've been in. You were dreaming about a place. You were dreaming about a lighthouse, I think, though you've never seen a lighthouse before. And you feel the cold metal of the lighthouse rail under your hands. You feel the warmth of the fire in the beacon behind you. You can taste the salt in the air. And somewhere out on the ocean, in the distance, you can see a boat. You can see its sails kind of gray against the black horizon. And something about the sound of that note like jars you out of whatever long thought you've been trapped in. And you know that all you can do now is wait here on the cliffside for the ship to come in. Something is on its way. And I think with that image of Piani standing at the lighthouse, I think that's when we go to
Do it.
break.
Yeah, that's the hardest fucking you've ever given it. You're gonna love that.
Yeah, they'll be pretty upset. All right, let's take our third and final break here of the day. When we come back, we'll find out who's leaving the show and if their character is going to live or die and how they're going to do it. Find that all out after this.
Wow.
It's all going to be answered. We'll see you guys in just
These
a
are the
bit.
days of our lives.
Yeah, very dramatic. All right, we'll be right back.